What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about UFC Belgrade taking place this Saturday and why I think this is one of the most underrated cards in recent memory. Now, I understand there's not the flashiest, sexiest name value on the card, but I see so much discourse about this fight talking about how this is a shitter, as if there's not a lot of fun stylistic matchups on this fight card. I think there's going to be a lot of violence. I think there's going to be a lot of finishes. And I think there's some underrated prospects that you guys might not know about. And I also think that there's some good betting spots too. So if that's your kind of thing, and if you want some reasons to watch this fight card, to be excited for it, you came to the right spot. We're going to briefly go through every fight that matters and kind of tell you how I might think it play out. And if you want a more in-depth breakdown, I have a full card prediction video where I ran about this card for an hour long, giving you my reasoning behind my picks, what to consider on both sides, and potential angles to take in my video that came out last night. And also later tonight, I should be dropping a video talking about the bets that I will be placing, the reasoning behind it, and how much I will be throwing on it. So if that's your kind of thing, like, subscribe, tune in. We're going to be covering this card pretty decently throughout this week. So without further ado, let's get into the first fight of the night. The first one that actually matters. These first three fights, we got two women's MMA fights, and we got a heavyweight fight where two guys are debuting. Miss me with that, okay? I did the research. If you want the breakdown of them, watch my fight video, my fight card breakdown video that came out yesterday. And I might be betting it, so stay tuned for that tonight. But if you want to watch this card for violence, or you want to watch it for entertainment, for guys that you should know, skip to this fight, okay? At 8:30 o'clock Pacific time, that's my time. I don't know when it is. Wherever you guys are, your cock will be hard. Mateusz Rebecki is so much fun to watch. And Kyle Prepolek is a very underrated guy, man. I understand he's going to lose this fight. Plus 475. That is way too wide in my opinion. I'd put Mateusz minus 350-ish, maybe minus 400 because he makes mistakes. He is stupid, and he will trade on the feet. And Kyle Prepolek is a gamed customer. This is a guy that will trade. This is a guy that was a live favorite over Drew Dober in a striking matchup because he will trade. He does have a pretty good kicking game. He will play into kind of that marauder style from Mateusz Rebecki. I think the difference here is Mateusz has the ability to take this fight down to the ground, which he should be able to do, and I think you'll find a TKO on the ground, maybe a submission on the ground. I went round 2, TKO was my pick, but when I looked at this fight and I went through it, I'm like, I do not see minus 650 price tag on Mateusz Rebecki, but you should know Mateusz Rebecki. You guys probably already do, but I do think the kind of hype behind this guy's died down because of his recent losing streak, but these are three good opponents, and he holds a win over one of the best welterweight prospects right now. Mediback Oralby took the fight on short notice in his UFC debut and beat Uros Medic, the guy that's main eventing this card. Okay? Mateusz Rebecki beat him in a fight of the night type of performance. Electric shit. And he's had 3 straight fight of the night performances in the row, and this one against Diego Ferreira would be on 90% of cards a fight of the night. So in my opinion, bro, this guy's easily, without a doubt, a top 20 guy in the UFC when it comes to entertainment. And even when he is marauding lower level opponents, you can watch this Rajabov fight, the Roberts fight. It's been so much fun to watch. I'm a big Mateusz Rebecki guy. He's so much fun to watch. And even in this Grant Dawson fight where he lost and he got submitted, and Grant Dawson's kind of a more boring style of a fighter, he clipped him, almost sent him to the shadow realm early, then shot a takedown and did some dumb shit, which is why I don't trust him. Mateusz just does dumb shit, which is good for the entertainment side of things. But for the money line, for the betting side of things, it's a little bit scary, even though Prepolek should lose this fight and has struggled with wrestlers and some guys that can bang like a Mateusz Rebecki. So anyways, super fun fighter, and we have a gamed opponent that will play into his fun style on the feet. And even when he is run through guys, it's a lot of fun to watch. Minus 650, too wide. That's the breakdown on that. Check out my full card predictions for more in depth. Okay. Denis Buzukja versus Bogdan Grad. All right. Now we're flowing, brother. Denis Buzukja versus Bogdan Grad is very underrated. I know a lot of people are not super excited for this fight, and you will see a lot of people saying Bogdan Grad minus 200 is a gift. I disagree with all those things. I think this is an underrated fight. I think this could be a lot of fun. It could be boring too. And while it might not be the highest level, I think Denis Buzukja is being massively underrated. And I think Bogdan Grad's striking, while it is fun, is being massively overrated too. So I'm worried. I think Bogdan Grad gets some wrestling going, but if this fight is on the feet, Denis Buzukja with a grappling base was a guy who stuffed most of the takedowns coming his way from Francis Marshall And when he was taken down, he was very good about getting back up to his feet. When he got dropped badly in the first round against Marshall, this guy was on bottom, and that might have been round 2 actually. This guy was on bottom. It took him like 30 seconds, maybe a minute to recover, gets back up, gets back out to the feet, and builds into that fight and starts scrapping. So he's had great fights. Go watch that fight with Francis Marshall if you kind of want to see why I'm nervous for the Grad side on the money line. But if you watch Bogdan Grad on the Dana White's Contender Series against Michael Aswell, he went to war with him. That was one of the better fights of last season. But in hindsight, that's not that great of a win. So are either of these guys the prospect that's going to go far in the division? No. But both of these guys have some grappling bases, and Dennis Bazookia's counter grappling ends up being good. I think that this could be a really fun fight on the feet. And Dennis Bazookia has, I guess, underrated power at this point. Like, he can crack, and he has pretty good cardio. So this is a full camp for both fighters from what I know. And Dennis Bazookia, I think he's from Albania. It might be Armenia. I'm honestly forgetting. I think it's Albania. Albania is a really hated country for Belgrade, so everybody's cheering for Bogdan Grad. And I'm a fan of Bogdan Grad. Like, the guy will scrap on the feet. He's a lot of fun to watch. But Bazookia on the feet, I slightly lean towards him because I think he will catch Bogdan Grad at some point. Will he put him out? I don't know. But if this fight extends on the feet, it's going to be a fucking scrap unless there's a lot of wrestling. So, Lord knows, minus 200 is too steep on Bogdan Grad. If you're looking for value, look at the Dennis Bazookia side and maybe watch some tape on him if you're trying to consider an underdog. I think he's a good dog. I passed. There you go. I'm kind of breaking this down a little bit too much. But fun fight. I think if it is on the feet, we could get a good scrap. But if one fighter or the other has too much success with the wrestling, yes, it could be boring. Next fight of the card, Borislav Nikolic versus Mark Volagdin. All right. Mark Volagdin is so fun to watch. Let's go here on YouTube where I Googled Mark Volagdin. This is the UFC YouTube channel, and they have a fight posted where it says the greatest fight of all time between Adrian Luna Martinetti versus Mark Volagdin. That tells you the kind of fighter a guy like Mark Volagdin is. This guy's so much fun to watch. Borislav Nikolic is so much fun to watch as well. He's making his UFC debut. Let me click on his Tapology because there's some oohs and ahs that happens as soon as you see the 16-2. Then you go to the finishing rate. This guy is finishing so many of his fights, and he's 5'9", 5'10". Mark Volagdin being a shorter guy at 5'3". Shit. Everyone's on the Borislav Nikolic side, and I actually found myself taking the underdog here. And it's because Borislav Nikolic has holes in his grappling. Stylistically, though, Borislav Nikolic on the feet is a lot of fun to watch. He's got a good submission game. He gets taken down a lot, yes, but he has very good scrambles where he ends up getting back on the feet. I'd recommend going back and watching his fight against Nicholas Huende to understand how tough this guy is. This guy is dog tough. He got his ass beat for 3 rounds, comes out in round 4, finds a big shot, rocks the guy, and then ends up finding the submission. So this guy has good cardio and is able to come back and just weirdly pull off victories, kind of like a Yuri Prohaska. Not stylistically, but just in the sense where he'll end up down 2 rounds, needs to find a finish, needs to clutch up, and he just gets it done. So this guy is super fun to watch. On the feet, the way he throws, in my opinion, is like a Walmart, Kmart version of Marwan Rahiki, where he just loads up his shots, throws with a whole lot of power, throws it a little bit wide, and leaves his chin open. But he's got probably a better chin than Rahiki, better chin recovery. I trust it a little bit more at the bantamweight division. And Volagdin doesn't have the greatest power, but he does have great cardio. He is dog tough. And to me, I'm picking him because I think he might be able to extend combinations a little bit better. I think he struggles against fighters that are a little bit offbeat with their timing. And Nikolic doesn't really extend his combinations really well, even though he swings like a fucking madman. Like I said, like similar to Marwan Rahiki. So Nikolic is a prospect that some people are pretty high on. I think he would do better in a 5-round fight, and taking this on short notice, being the bigger guy, is a reason to look at the dog side for Mark Volagdin, who I think, weirdly enough, can get some wrestling going into this fight. So, interesting fight. Nikolic is not like a bum, and Mark Volagdin, dude, he's so much fun to watch. I gave you the reason. So, let's move on to the next fight of the card that you should be excited for, and it's Michael Oliveira versus Oban Elliott. And when I talked about underrated prospects, there's a big community behind the Michael Oliveira side, but he's not talked about in the way that, like, the casual fans will talk about him the way that I think maybe they should. His fight in the Contender Series was super impressive. He has some impressive regional tape, and he is 28, so I'm going to be careful with what I say here, but I easily could see him being a very big problem at the top of the welterweight division. I love his striking style. I think he has a lot of similarities to a guy like Alex Pereira. And in the sense that this guy's got an untelegraphed low kick, This guy jabs kind of to the body to set up his range, similar to an Alex Pereira, and he has that lead leg high kick, similarly to the one that Alex Pereira landed on Yuri Prochazka. This guy's got great power. He's a fun style to watch, and he seems like one of those guys. It's just refreshing to see from an up-and-coming prospect that's patient and will let the fight play out to him, and he'll capitalize on the moments. Owen Elliott is a guy who is underrated, who has 2 losses in a row, but this guy was like a big favorite over Suk Young Ko, who was looking like a very good prospect at the time. Well, maybe not at that time. He was then seen as a very good prospect after that fight against Owen Elliott. But Owen Elliott was on a 3-fight winning streak within the UFC. At a certain point, people were thinking he was a pretty good, well-rounded prospect, and now he's on a 2-fight losing streak. I picked Michael Off over him, just letting you know. But in this fight against Michael Oliveira, I think Owen Elliott, he will try to brawl at some point. He will do some shit on the feet where he's going to try to find a big shot on Oliveira, and that's how you get sniped, man. How I would break him down is kind of like with the counter-striking style. He's not like the greatest in extended combinations, but where I'm going to compare him to a Manel Kape is Manel Kape will pressure forward and then wait for you to throw, and then he'll look for his combos. Michael Oliveira doesn't extend combinations as well as a Manel Kape, but what he does do better than a Manel Kape is he establishes that jab and that low kick from range. I've always been a little bit skeptical on the Manel Kape side because Manel Kape, while he is a great counter striker, when it comes to scoring from range, like it's a situation where he ends up being down and then he finds the moment and then he goes up in the round, whatever it means. Michael Oliveira, not like a Manel Kape, is just establishing that jab from the get-go. It seems pretty untelegraphed and it seems like a concrete jab. This guy's got great power, great counters, fun style to watch. And I think if he just continues to improve and he has good takedown defense, which is a little bit unproven to me, but if he has good takedown defense, I love his style, and I love the way he could potentially be long-term. And he's also like Brazilian Army, like Special Forces. I think that shit's dope. This guy's fucking badass. I love his style, and I really do think this guy could be a problem at the top of the welterweight division. I hate saying future champ because I'm not predicting him to be champ, but if he makes the right improvements, that's not out of the cards. Let's move on to Ludovic Klein versus Tafik Musayev. All right? Ludovic Klein is a fucking cool fighter to watch. Tafik Musayev, while he is a cheater, in his last fight against Ignacio Bahamondes, he cheated and ended up winning that fight. Regardless of what you want to say, he's a lot of fun to watch. And I mentioned Ludovic Klein versus Mateusz Rebecki earlier in the night. That fight, one fight of the night, was a fun fight. Ludovic Klein was stuffing the takedowns, looking great on the feet in round 1 and 2, and just tagging Mateusz Rebecki for a lot of that fight. He's a technical striker that's fun to watch. Pretty high level, to be frank. But he's been taken down. He's had some bad spots. And I think Tafik Musayev at plus 205 is very good value considering Ludovic Klein is coming off a bad ankle injury. He's returning, fairly soon for that type of injury. I mean, what do I know? But I think Musayev is worth looking at when it comes to the dog side. I think his win over Ignacio Bahamondes is impressive. And Ludovic Klein actually lost to Ignacio Bahamondes, I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago. But what you see with Tafik Musayev is a guy that has good power on the feet, will throw some mighty hooks. Kind of, I'm not going to say similarly to Mateusz Rebecki, but where I made the stylistic comparison where it could be pretty similar is like Tafik will throw big power. He will be kind of pressure centric at times, and he will do a lot to try and find these takedowns. Now he's more probably reliant on the takedowns in this matchup, and he won't trade as much as like a Mateusz Rebecki. But dude, he will throw bombs on the feet, and this could be a lot of fun. And I do think that he's bigger than Mateusz Rebecki frame-wise, which could bring a guy like Ludovic Klein problems, who we did see get taken down and struggle a lot with Mateusz Gamrot. Too many Mateuszes, man. Fuck, bud. But, so basically what I will say, Ludovic Klein is like a pretty solid striker. If you've seen his game, you've seen his game. If not, this could be a fun fight. And if not, it's like a decently high-level fight. This is not some bum versus bum. Tafik has a good win in the UFC, and he's pretty fun to watch when he is on the feet. And he does try to score. When he's on top of you, too, he does score. So that's the breakdown for this fight. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Noah Gagnon versus Milos Janicic. Everyone loves Milos Janicic. Let's go to the Tapology just so you can kind of see the breakdowns of these guys. And you're not looking at a fucking shadow of a person. I don't know why the UFC does that shit, but oh well. Milos Janicic, he's from Montenegro. Beautiful flag. I love this flag. Let's pop it over here. That's a beautiful flag, man. He's got 19 wins, 3 losses. All of his wins are by finish. This guy's a lot of fun to watch. He throws a whole lot of volume. He loves going to that jab. He is Milos Jabicic, as I said. Throws that jab so often, and he loves throwing with that lead hook as well. So he's a front hand kind of guy. In my opinion, Noah Gagnon, this guy's fun to watch as well. He's got a lot of finishes on record. All of his wins are by finish. The one that went to a decision loss was against a pretty high-level grappler, actually. Well, 10-1 grappler. You can see all this for yourself. But like that's not a bad loss to have early on in your career. In my opinion, I'm picking Noah Gagnon. I picked him when he was the dog. I think he is like pretty even odds at this point, but I do think that he's a good pick. I think he's fun to watch. I think both these guys are very violent. Noah Gagnon is probably better at extending combinations. I think he's going to be better at feigning, and he could get the wrestling going. If anyone was to get the wrestling going offensively, I'm going with Noah Gagnon. As you can see right here, if I can pop this up for you guys, I know it probably looks pretty small on your screen. The over-under is 1.5. That probably means we're getting a finish. I picked Noah Gagnon by round 2 KO. I think he's going to find something. And Milos Janicic, while he throws the jab out, I think he's a little bit sloppy in extending combinations, and Gagnon dips to the body very well. Both of them go to the body pretty decently, but Gagnon just looks tighter. And Janicic, if there's anyone's cardio that I trust between the two, I'm going to trust Gagnon a little bit more. But I think this is a fun, violent fight. This could be fight of the night. Same thing with, fucking honestly, with every fight that I named so far. Outside of the Oliveira-Oban fight, which Lord knows, dude. At this point, Lord knows. Anything can be fight of the night. Milos Janicic, no Gagnon. I'm taking the dog in Gagnon. I like his fighting style. I like his power, and I like his ability to take this fight down to the ground. And just on the feet, bro, he's fun to watch. He's found a lot of KOs early. Milos has found a lot of KOs early. It does feel like we're going to find a finish early, and it could get very wild very quickly. So moving on to Vlasto Chepo. Yeah, man, let's go for that. I say that because he kind of reminds me of like the Yuri fighting style where he's just fucking going for it at times. You know what I mean? He fights like how Yuri fights when he's down 2 rounds. Vlasto Chepo just comes out there, sock 'em, bop 'em, robot maxing. This guy's barnyard scrap dog maxing. He is fun to watch, man. He just comes out there, marauds his way into trying to blast your head off with hooks in the first minute. And then he'll clinch up for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, and then he'll go for another minute and try to bop your head off. And Gilberto Bean has been KO'd quite a few times. But my pick here, Vlasto Chepo, round 1 KO. I gotta forget. Or I keep I'm breaking down this fight like it's a full card prediction video. Stylistically, dude, this is one of the most fun guys to watch in the UFC. If you like Andreas Gustafsson, this is Andreas Gustafsson that throws more wild and gets the hands going probably a little bit more than Andreas Gustafsson, who was already really fun to watch. He's got good power, and he's got a big crowd behind him. I think that's a lot to kind of cheer for. And Gilbert Urbina is a guy that's been finished a few times. But hey, man, Vlasto Chepo is a massive hole in his grappling. So Urbina is a very live dog. He's a very live dog. You can watch enough tape on Vlasto Chepo to understand that minus 340 is a ridiculous line. I think it's more like minus 300 to be frank. Oh, it's minus 360. I'm going to be playing Urbina even though I'm picking Chepo, but I will have like money on the under too, maybe in a parlay. I'll talk about that tomorrow or later today, actually, in my betting breakdown video. So wait for that. We're going to place the bets together. I'm going to tell you what we on. But Vlasto Chepo, round 1 KO, he's going to come out there and just sock him, bop him. First round, Urbina gets slimed. Go and watch just maybe one Vlasto Chepo fight. If I was to tell you to watch one, it'd probably be this one against, not Ethan Cartel. It might have been Daniel Schwint. It might have been that guy, honestly. I don't really know. Wait. Maybe Eon. Watch one of them, bro. They're all fucking first round slime outs. This guy just goes for it. Look up Vlasto Chepo, watch one fight. You're literally going to have to spend 2 minutes to watch a finish. He's fucking fun to watch, bro. He's going to come out there swinging like a madman from the get-go. Urbina's more well-rounded. He's probably the more technical striker, for God's sake. But if Vlasto Chepo gets taken down, he probably gets subbed. He probably looks horrible off his back. It's going to be fun from the get-go, though. All right, next fight of the card. Robert Valentin versus Dusko Todorovic. All right, this is not a fight where I'm going to tell you, like, you need to be excited for it. You're fucking casual if not. Not the case. Okay, not the case. Both these guys suck. But Robert Valentin is fun to watch. He will trade like a madman on the feet. He does have good elbows, and he has a good submission game. Dusko Todorovic is a guy that is going to try to get the takedowns. We'll trade a little bit, have been in some wars, and I think the Chinny narrative is a little bit overblown. So he potentially is a good dog. I picked Valentin by submission. I really don't love that pick at all. I think these guys both suck. And a lot of times when they're both sucky and I have it as a 50-50 fight, I always think it makes sense to maybe stab the underdog. But I do think that this is a fight that the odds makers are looking at. They price the over-under on 1.5, which means they're expecting a finish. And I think Robert Valentin is a guy that is going to be pushing for this finish. And Dusko is going to try to take it down to the ground. And whoever gets a dominant position on ground might find the finish. We might have some good moments. Dusko could make it boring. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Maybe we get a scrap out of this. I actually kind of think we might. So it could be fun. I don't know. I'm not going to fucking hype this one up. All right. Alexander Rakic versus Marcin Tybura. Rakic is on a 4-fight losing streak. I still think he has success in the heavyweight division. Minus 350 kind of makes sense. I'm going to go back and watch some Tybura tape before I place a bet on it. But, I mean, Rakic on a 4-fight losing streak against high-level fighters. One of them was from his knee blowing out. One of them was a close decision against Magomed Ankalaev, which kind of has aged well. And he lost to a southpaw jab in Azamat Murzakanov. And he also lost to, who else? Recent. The fuck? Yuri Prohaska. Power punchers. This guy doesn't have the greatest chin, but Marcin doesn't have the greatest power. And Rakic probably stuffs the takedowns and on the feet. I mean, he has a great frame. He has lighter man skill. I think he can KO Marcin Tybura. I don't know if it's going to be a fun fight because Rakic can be boring, but Rakic should win this. It's kind of interesting to see how he'll be at the heavyweight division. Once again, not the greatest fights. I think the best fights are like oddly enough on the prelims. Jan Blachowicz versus Navajo Sterling. Navajo's taking this on short notice. I think Jan Blachowicz plus 250 is an extremely live underdog. I will be betting him. I don't know how yet. Just tune in tonight. But Jan Blachowicz is a technical striker. If you haven't seen his fights, he's a guy with good low kicks, good jab, got some good power. Has always been a little bit slower, but now that he's 43 years old, a guy in Navajo Sterling who's taken this on a few days short notice, and in my opinion, has not been my favorite prospect. I've been waiting for the time to fade him, and I wanted to fade him, but I picked Navajo here. He's fun to watch. This should be like somewhat of a fun fight to watch, somewhat competitive, nothing crazy, but this does have some big pull in terms of how the light heavyweight division might play out after this fight. So Navajo's coming in on like a week short notice. He was coming off a bender, like he said. If you like playing underdog value, if you like playing odds that are probably too wide, Jan Blachowicz at plus 250 is fair to look at because while he hasn't like had any crazy victories, he has been fighting the who's who in the heavyweight division, light heavyweight division, sorry. When you look at it, like Bogdan Guskov draw, didn't look the greatest in that fight, but still went to a draw, won 2 rounds, and ended up dropping him in the third, even though he got dropped and hurt. Carlos Orberg versus the champion. He had a very close fight. Had a super close fight with Pereira. Had a very close fight with Magomed Ankalaev. These are the top guys in the light heavyweight division who are all better than Navajo Sterling, outside of maybe Bogdan Guskov. And if you want to make the argument that Bogdan is a tougher stylistic matchup for John and then Navajo Sterling, fair argument. So I don't know. Will it play out to be fun? Maybe not like a barnyard scrap like an Uros Medic, a Milos Janicic fight, or how Mark Volognin's fight can turn into. Maybe not like that. He's not like a barnyard scrapper in that sense, but this could be a little bit of a higher level fight. You get to learn a lot about Navajo Sterling, who's a younger up-and-coming prospect, good frame, cool guy. This is an intriguing matchup. This is not just a bullshit, oh, he's 43 years old. Navajo has, or Jan has no chance. I think that's a bad narrative. So for me, I think this fight's more competitive than people think, and I'm excited for it. So yeah, main event, Uros Medic versus Daniel Rodriguez. Once again, Uros is a fucking Chad, dude. I like this guy a lot. And I've been on the Uros train for some time, but I'm kind of realistic about where he is with his career, where yes, he's a lot of fun to watch, but this is a guy that can get slimed out real quick. And I found out when I bet him against Punahele Soriano, and he moved to like minus, I think it moved even wider than this, like minus 250, and I got him at like minus 140, and I thought I had the lock of the card, the value of the card, and then he just gets smokes in the first round. And he gets dropped in the first round against Gilbert Urbina, and then he gets hammered by Matthew Semmelsberger in moments, right? I picked him over Jeff Neal, oddly enough, because I thought he'd find a shot, and I was feeling it. I was feeling it. And he's a quicker guy who has like the fluke ability to beat everybody. Maybe not everybody, but to beat a lot of guys. But he also has the ability to lose to a guy like Daniel Rodriguez. So at minus 425, when I've seen him clipped by worse fighters than Daniel Rodriguez, and he is kind of like a do or die guy, I'm like, shit, I don't know if I like this. I'm cheering for Uros. I love this guy. But just because you beat Jeff Neal doesn't mean I'm loving you at minus 425. So while he is good and while he has the potential to potentially like bink some higher level fighters, he also has the potential to lose to some lower level fighters. And I think if you're going to play this fight, Uros by KO is probably the way, or maybe just under 1.5. So we're going to look into that tonight. So thank you guys so much for making it this holy shit, bud, making it this deep in the card. Let's just run through it really quick. Give you the quick breakdown. Mateusz Rebecki, one of the most entertaining fighters. Could be a fun scrap on the feet between Bazookia and Grad. Mark Vologden, super fun fighter. Borislav Nikolic, also super fun to watch. Could be boring, but I think that the underdog might be good here. So anyways, Michael Oliveira, one of my favorite prospects on the card. One of my favorite prospects just in general that is making his debut soon. Love Michael Oliveira. Ludovic Klein versus Tafik Musayev. Decently high-level fight in the lightweight division. That could end up being a pretty fun, competitive fight. Milos Jancic versus Noah Gagnon. Scrappers, debuters, a lot of fun to watch. Both young, both could improve. I trust Noah Gagnon better throughout his UFC career to go farther. I think Jancic will probably lose at some point, but he is so much fun to watch. Both these guys, so much fun to watch. Fight of the night potential. Vlasto Chepo, one of the most entertaining fighters in the UFC. The second he got signed, and Urbina is a guy that can get slimed out in the first round or win as a big underdog. So, yeah, not the greatest fight, but could be fun, man. Honestly, could be fun. I'm picking a finish in that one. Rakic, I think he wins by KO, but we'll see. Blachowicz, Sterling, I already kind of pitched you guys on these two fights more recently. So, yeah, that's the fight card breakdown, man. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this type of content, feel free to let me know. I just wanted to get this out because I felt like everybody was just dogging on this fight card so much. I'm like, dude, there's a lot of finishes. There's some fun prospects. And there's some good bets as well, which no need to fear. Smeezy will be here later tonight. So feel free to subscribe, like, turn on notifications because that video will be coming out tonight regarding what I will be betting, what I will be considering. Yeah. All right, man. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. Have a good one. And peace.